Hey, good evening. Welcome to Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, we had a couple of days away at on the hospitality of our friends Roger and Bing, for which we are eternally grateful. And the girls had such an incredible time. A first experience for two of them, Lorraine and Dat, who had never been to a hotel before in their lives. Actually, little Dat, if you watch the videos, we took her to Tagbilaran with us a few days ago, and she had never been to see a movie in a theatre. So going into what would have been to her an overwhelmingly big building, and then sitting in the darkness must have been quite an experience for her. I remember that last year we took Nanai and we took her to Tagbilaran with us. We took her to see a movie, and after the movie, when we were on our way home, she said to Beth, why do they put the lights out? See, so when you come to the Philippines, you are likely to encounter people who have never experienced things which you just take totally for granted. But anyway, I was looking at the coronavirus situation, panic or pandemic. I wonder which one it is. I go like a ping pong ball at times on it, back and forth from thinking it's in panic to thinking it really is a pandemic. And certainly there is so much confusion on it that anybody can be forgiven for either being in total denial or in absolute total panic about what on earth they're going to do. I've seen some crazy videos on YouTube. I've seen them where those guys in the white suits and the masks and fully clothed in white, walking the streets of Wuhan with guns in their hands, and the text would have had me believe that they were shooting people on sight, and then the bodies would come and be taken up later. The other one was that they were going around and just screwing the doors of apartments closed and just leaving people in there to die. I get videos where they're showing cutting up human bodies so that they can make them into corned beef. It's difficult to keep a straight face, and yet it's not a pleasant way to think that the world is going at the moment. But the coronavirus, I mean, there are so many different ways of approaching it. When we went to the waterfront hotel, which was where our friends Roger and Bing were staying, and we went and joined them there for lunch, I think it was, or dinner, and when we approached the entrance, got out of the taxi and approached the entrance, the guy, actually there was a security guard there, and he had a little thing, and it tested you for goodness knows what. I imagine it tested you to see if you had a temperature, and if you had a temperature, I'm assuming, only assuming by the way, because it didn't happen, but I'm assuming that they would just play safe and refuse you entry. That would be my assumption. Otherwise, what on earth could they do? Certainly they didn't have any quarantine rooms where you would be taken, so must be assumed that they would just turn you away. Well, when you are exiting the airports now, if you are seen to have a temperature, just in case, they're going to pull you in and get you to do some tests. And one of our recent visitors, an American, who had been traveling, I think that, I'm not sure of his last port of call, but I know that he had been to Hawaii. And when he came in, I'm not sure whether it was Cebu or whether it was Etafi, but he was stopped and pulling. I don't think it could have been a taffy, because they don't apparently have any immigration officers, or I don't think that there's any facility that could do it there. But he was pulled in and he was questioned for a couple of hours about his travels, and not sure whether they made any examination of him, but it would have been easy to take his temperature, let's face it. That's the easiest thing. And that's what they did to all of us when we went to the waterfront. And they did that every time that we went in and out of the hotel. So they at least were taking it very, very seriously. But apart from that, it didn't go any further than that. But then I see that there are basic precautions that you should be taking. One of the basic precautions that we were advised to take early on, and which at the time I did think was a good idea, and that was to lay in a month's supply, or if you could afford it, a couple of months or 3 months supply of canned goods. And now, behold, they're running short of canned goods. So that's the problem, isn't it? There's not enough stock for everyone to lay in 2 or 3 months supply of anything, because they don't have that much stock. Now, in the West, for something like, say, Costco, they have a computer app which is on all of their cash registers, and it records all of the products that are going out. So it doesn't just cash up for the price, it actually registers the kind of product that you're buying. So if you're in there and you're going crazy on a 3-ply toilet paper for 3 months, heaven forbid, it will register that it was toilet paper. And then if everybody was buying in 3 months of bog rolls, then it would quickly reorder automatically. But of course it's not that sophisticated here in the Philippines. When I suggested that to my friend Edgar at Ambicon, he pointed out that the program apparently is some 70,000 pesos plus to buy that program and have it installed. So he wasn't having it. Short-sighted, yes, but then he can't be criticised or pulled down, because he is an extremely successful businessman. So he's got his priorities and he sees to it that he does what he has to. But when you come out here to the Philippines, a very common phrase, which sometimes is just misused, and that is out of stock. Now sometimes if you go to someone who is stocking a shelf and say, excuse me, can you find, do you have any widgets for sale, and or widget soup, or whatever it is that you're looking for. Now if he's just too challenged to be able to work out what it is that you are saying, he'll say, I'm sorry sir, we're out of stock. Now it can be very strange here that you can actually say the right word and yet it's not understood. I remember I went to a sari store, and all I wanted was water, two bottles of water. So I said, too big, too big, and the girl looked at me and she repeated, too big? I said, yes, too big, too big. And just didn't understand. And I said, water. And she said, oh, water, fine. And she was Filipino. So I'm not quite sure what is happening sometimes, but you can say the thing that's absolutely appropriate, and it gets you nowhere. Whenever it's changed now, but whenever we used to go to Vidasto, we go to Vidasto to eat, and we'd be sitting there, we would want something else, maybe to have a soft drink or more coffee or whatever it was. Now, Beth would just say, die, and the waitress would come over straight away, and Beth would speak quietly, and she would immediately hear the word, and she would come to Beth and say, yes, what would you like? Now, when I said, die, she doesn't hear anything. Nobody hears anything. And I say it 3 or 4 times, die. Nobody comes. So I say to Beth, can you get the waitress over? And Beth would say, die. And the waitress would come over straight away. Go figure. So, if you're looking at all of the confusion of data which is coming out, I've lost count of the number of doctors who are eminently qualified in a very special way. Some of them have just got back from China, have been actually working with the patients who are suffering from coronavirus, and they know everything about it. It's not a mystery to them. They know exactly what to do, know exactly who's dying and who's not and who's recovering, and they tell you exactly what. And then if you scroll down for maybe another 2 videos, and you'll find somebody else that came from Beijing, and he or she knows everything as well, and then you can find somebody that's in America that knows exactly what the situation is, and it's all a panic, and then somebody on the newspapers who is saying that it's not a pandemic at all, it's just a load of gossipers who knows, and it's all there, and in the end you just end up doing what you can with what you have. Are you wearing a mask? Well, I'm not wearing a mask because I can't find a mask for sale. And I think that there was one company that was selling masks for 100 or 200 pesos each, whereas usually they might be, I don't know, 15 or 20 pesos. So there are opportunists even when it comes to protecting the population from instant death. So you'll do what you can with what you have, and you will try to find those things which are on sale and not out of stock. And you'll take some extra vitamins, and you'll wash your hands, and you'll have a sanitizer if you like, and you'll wear gloves and long sleeve clothing, and you will wear a mask and a hat, and you'll go around, and if you're lucky, nobody will shoot you because you look like an alien. And like I say, in the end you will fall back to what you can do, and what you can do is usually just a few steps above what you normally do. You're going to wash your hands a little more, you're going to be careful about I don't know, touching doorknobs in public places, and then what can you do? You can't go around like Howard Hughes wiping all the doorknobs down because you're afraid of catching something. And there was no coronavirus then, although I've just seen a video by an American lady, a beautiful California blonde, who is a qualified doctor and is saying that it's not what you've been told, and it's something else. And so what do? Well, I'm doing what I can with what I have, as usual, and it's a few steps above. Nothing else you can do, is there? Thanks for looking in. I think it's part pandemic, part panic. Do what you can. Bye for now.